What does it mean when you say, well, we're an Irish company or we are a Dublin-based company or a Cork-based company? What does that actually mean if I'm an international either investor, customer? Does that say anything to me? Does that resonate with me at all?
So brand does matter, but that brand is built over the long period of time. Does the national brand, the national identity matter? Well, all of the research out of the States, so if you look at, for example, Kaufman Foundation for the entrepreneurship research and things like that, it doesn't really say much about Ireland. It never figures as a brand. So the Indian brand, for example, Pakistani brand, as being present from the, say, Silicon Valley, is actually visible. It is on the horizon. But we are small, so that's not a reason to say that there isn't a brand. But there is a positive connotation to Ireland in the global markets. So this is one of the advantages why we can actually internationalize and should internationalize. So if you go to, again, comfortable and uncomfortable geographies, Ireland is perceived positively there because primarily we are neutral, primarily because we are not sticking our head into the big geopolitical conflicts and the likes. And as a result of that, there is a positive feeling towards Ireland. A lot of also Irish people in the diaspora tend to focus on the marketing and sales roles, which means that they're outgoing, they're open, they're engaged, and they're present again and visible in the community. There is a brand, and it's useful for marketing. Whether it's a tech brand itself, I'm not so sure. I don't know, to be honest. But there is a brand, and using that brand in a smart way can be helpful for the companies.
Yeah, my view is it's incredibly valuable. I'd go much higher, Constantin, and having been at the front end using it. It gives you the power within international markets to be quite wild, to actually make a few mistakes and say, in Ireland we do things differently. And that could just be a spoof on something. But you can actually do things that are outside of normal etiquette and protocol because you're Irish. And that's hugely powerful. And you can take advantage of it and plead humility at the end of it, and they will love you for it. And so really use that. And then don't underestimate the power of St. Patrick's Day. How many people here send St. Patrick's Day cards, either physically or online? It's hugely powerful to your international friends. Your local friends you wouldn't, but to international friends, it's hugely powerful. And you can do that. It costs you nothing if you buy some of these online, Jackie Lawson and various Blue Mountain or whatever they are, or even construct your own. And it's thinking of you on St. Patrick's Day. And they say, St. Patrick, I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day. And this is a feast day in Ireland. Then they see the media in the United States and the president and everything else. And they say, there's something about the Irish. They have these connections. And then suddenly out of the woodwork, within this corporation, you find that some guy's father was Irish. Somebody else's grandmother's twice removed is Irish. And suddenly you've got a bond there within the system. And you can say, could I meet this person? Would you introduce me? And of course, they absolutely would. Whereas if you were just a Brit or a Frenchman or a Chinese person, they'd have to have some other link there to get into those connections. So don't underestimate the Irish brand and use it very, very heavily. And take advantage of some of the trade missions that happen around Ireland, because that gives some access, but allows you to bring customers into a channel that they never would have experienced before.
So I'm going to be a bit contrarian and kind of say from a technology startup standpoint, if your brand is solely defined by where you're from, you've already kind of lost the game. I don't think you should tie yourself anywhere. I think it's a bit limiting, particularly if your goal is to internationalize. And what I mean by that, particularly if you're kind of a consumer-facing company, right? Like, people want to buy from what they know. So like, I was out in the States working on this playbook about getting European startups to the US, and what I consistently kept hearing from Irish founders were saying, like, when we set up in the US, we had to change all the spelling in our website. You know, we got rid of the O, like favorite, F-A-V-O-U-R-I-T, they got rid of the U. You know, they hired Americans to do their sales because Americans want to buy from Americans. Americans feel comfortable doing business with other Americans. And so I think it's powerful that if you can hold on to the Irish born and bred thing, but realize that at the end of the day, if that's the sole aspect to your brand, kind of in the traditional sense, you're going to find that that's quite limiting, or you've kind of put yourself into quite a niche thing. Because from a international standpoint, you know, you don't want to be seen as, oh, they're just like that Irish company, or that, Chinese company or whatever, you want to be almost boundless. And I think Apple did a really, really good job of that. I think Stripe did a really good job of that too. Two Irish brothers moved to the States, started their company out of MIT, but very, very rarely will you hear them say, the Carlson brothers say, oh, we're like an Irish company. No, they're a web company based out in the Valley because that's where their customers are, that's where their headquarters are, that's where most of the partners that they're going to be working with are, and in the beginning anyways. So I'd just be kind of careful about relying too much on wherever you're from being the main base of your brand.